Hello and welcome to the show. This week's Failrace versus the community. We were to go racing with A-class cars from movies and TV. Our first race was at the Brands Hatch GP circuit. My Bumblebee Camaro getting a little bit on two wheels around turn one. Wasn't expecting the Camaro to have that sort of an issue, but nevertheless I worked my way up into a fourth place and would get third with a very good run off of the second corner. The F-bomb Camaro thinking about fighting back on the inside, ends up a bit too much across the curb, doesn't get a particularly good run off of the turn. Up ahead of me was a Lamborghini Miura and Aston Martin. Behind the two F-bomb Camaros were fighting each other, while a Pontiac Firebird was happy to follow my Camaro's progress through the order. I have to say, the Aston Martin was mighty fast in a straight line. I have a 600 horsepower Camaro here, and that was not really able to do anything about the Aston Martin on the straights. Fortunately for me, the Miura was a little slow through the next corner. The Aston Martin had to check up. I didn't, but a mega run off of the turn could get my Chevy to the inside, leave the Aston Martin stuck out wide. I get a great run off the turn as well, meaning I can get up the inside of the Lamborghini, while the Firebird is more than happy to fill the gaps on the inside as the Lamborghini gets stuck out wide. The Aston Martin would follow through back up into third. One of the F-bomb Camaros just runs out of road in the background. Further back, as you would imagine, it was rather frantic as they round the second corner. Unfortunately for Knight Rider, would get a little stuck on the curb. I've seen that curb cause a lot of cars up onto two wheels. It's a nasty, vicious curb. Not very often it completely stops a car in its tracks. This Top Gear BMW trying to make a move on a Jaguar stuck on the outside for two corners. It's got plenty of grip, unlike the Nissan that would go and play in the dirt. Just couldn't quite get the move done. The Jaguar having some pretty solid straight line speed down this next segment. This is all helping Herbie, who is escaping away at the front of this little group, getting a bit of clean air. However, having held it around the outside for two turns, the BMW would finally get himself to the inside. And as I said, while the Jaguar had some okay straight line speed, it just didn't have the grip to really compete with the BMW. As they head down towards the next corner, the Jaguar does get a very good run. BMW just covers the inside, and the Jaguar is never likely to really be able to go around the outside of that BMW. Now, this race would feature a mandatory pit stop. However, much as we had seen last week, people are getting wise to the pitting, if you like. There were a few cars that came in early. This Camaro F-bomb was one of them. However, it never really affected any of them too much. Yes, you could kind of end up in a little bit of traffic, but no one got stuck horrendously trying to fight their way back through the field. And indeed, the Camaro would get relatively lucky, as the Subaru makes a little mistake with Pounce. You just haven't lost any time in having to do that. Yeah, we didn't have any massive losers in the pit stops. Equally, we didn't have any humongous gains to be made. The Top Gear BMW was doing relatively well at working his way up the order. A slightly earlier pit stop than some with this car, as he left though, was trying to get ahead of the Lamborghini, would just make it work. Lamborghini trying to go around the outside of turn one, cuts back to the inside, but is a little bit too far back to really have a go at the BMW. The pit lane exit here, a little bit of an awkward one, because as you come down towards turn one, your normal racing line kind of comes across where the cars are exiting the pits. So yeah, if you're not quite prepared for there to be a car on the inside, it's a little bit trickier, but everybody would make it work at the front, and there was a three-way battle going on for the lead. My Camaro leading the Aston Martin. Another F-bomb Camaro sat in third. It wasn't so much overtakes going on here. We're all within about 100 feet of each other for large parts of this race. As we were coming towards the latter stages, I was the first to blink coming into the pit lane. The Aston Martin would be happy to stay out. The F-bomb Camaro following me in. Since we were running in relatively clean air, I left it until relatively late. I wanted to make sure that I could come in and get out again and not find myself stuck in any of the traffic, as a couple of cars that hadn't pitted yet would come past. Further back, BMW Z8 was trying to hold on to his position against a Nissan and the Jaguar. Now, often when we race A-class cars, fields get very spread out. We tend not to have some of the best racing with this sort of vehicle. this week that was actually pretty good. There was quite a lot going on track. The BMW having some issues getting turned around the first corner, and when you're in a group like this, one little mistake doesn't often cost you just that single position. The Jaguar spots the gap on the inside. We'll say thank you very much, has a go. If you do end up out wide for turn 2, you can often get a mega run out of the corner, put you on the inside for the third turn. BMW tries his luck. The Jaguar really struggling with grip out across the grass, across the curbs, gets it back on. BMW briefly regains his position, but on too tight a line, outbrakes himself a little bit. That would end up out wide, leaving plenty of space on the inside for the Jaguar to get the position back. Yeah, there was a surprising amount of close racing going on with the vehicles elsewhere in the field. At the front, following our pit stops, the Aston Martin would have a lap to try and make things count, as he would dive into the pits on the penultimate time round. This pit lane is a little bit of an awkward one to get into. The Aston Martin, carrying just too much speed, clatters the wall on the left-hand side. I'm not sure he scrapes the guardrail on the other side as well, but he would importantly get into the pits. Now, this was very much the last chance for the cars to come into the pits. You may see another couple of vehicles diving in further back, as well as all going to be about the in-lap for the Aston Martin, my outlap with the Camaro. We were very much the cars fighting for the lead. We built up a relatively large lead as well, the three of us at the front. The Aston Martin trundling down the pit lane. There comes the Camaro. The Aston Martin just managing to pop out in front, but I'm carrying mega speed around the first corner. Aston Martin happy to go defensive up towards the second turn. I'm fighting across the curbs. I can't quite get the Camaro alongside. As I said, if you can hold it around that outside line, you can often get a very, very good run. That's what I was having to go for down towards turn 3, but the Aston Martin was just too quick. The Aston must have had an incredible in-lap, or me a scrappy out-lap, because clattering the wall on the way into the pit lane is certainly not ideal. I'm trying to get up the inside, but I can't make it stick, fighting my way across the curb. The Aston Martin would get the place. Seeing as I had a little bit of a lead when I dived into the pit here, must have been one hell of an in-lap for the Aston to have got the place, but it still wasn't all over. I was looking for any way I could get past. Aston Martin, though, gets a really, really good run through that next turn. You can see how hard I'm pushing the Camaro, almost a big slide for Bumblebee, and I've got to be careful because the F-Bomb Camaro was right there behind me as well as we run through the next corners. The Aston Martin had just managed to get that little bit of a lead, and I was very quickly running out of opportunities if I was to find a way back past. The Aston a little slow off of this next turn. The Camaro catching down towards the last corner, but there's nowhere to really overtake. I was too far back to have a big dive, and it's not a very big braking zone into that final corner. And out of the last turn, well, fairly evenly matched in speed. The Aston Martin would claim victory from the two Camaros. Yeah, one hell of an in-lap for that Aston would give him the victory. Further back, Aston Martin DB5 was fighting with the Top Gear BMW. The DB5, very much a lonely race. This is over 4th place. DB5, after his pit stop, would come out right with BMW. Aston very, very quick in a straight line, but the BMW far better through the corners. The Beamer getting to the inside at the final turn. Aston Martin happy to try and go for a cutback. Can't quite get it to the inside. Doesn't matter. DB5 has so much acceleration that he would beat the BMW across the line. Race number 2, and we would go to the Silverstone International Circuit with rather a lot of rain. Now, the puddles are a real nightmare on the start line. Really, really difficult to get that one right. A few cars check up ahead that kind of has a concertina effect. I end up bumping into the back of a Daytona. I apologise for the Daytona. Nothing I could have done. You can't necessarily see in time either with the amount of spray going on when you're right down the back of the grid. Everyone's trying to avoid the puddle. The Mitsubishi happy to drive through that section. I've just about survived, though, the opening lap. There's plenty of cars squabbling for position. It's 3 wide on the way down the back straight. Camaro getting some decent straight line speed as a Daytona trying to get involved. The Evo's trying to get involved. It's 4 wide as I go to the inside. That is an awful lot of American cars in a very, very small space of road. I'm more than happy to hug the inside and would get a heap of positions in that particular corner. yeah, not bad getting past all of those vehicles in one turn. Further back, and it would continue to be a rather hectic start to this race. The two Daytonas would end up squabbling with a Shelby Mustang. The Fast and Furious Evo was all within this group as well as we run down the back straight. Unfortunately, the poor Evo and a Firebird would have some issues across a puddle that would see them into the Armco. They would get going again, though, no problem. Down towards the bottom of this long straight, the Daytona gets himself to the inside. Mustang is in a little bit of a squeeze, but the Daytona will get alongside still, though you're on the wrong line for the next turn. If the Mustang can brake late enough, in the end it's perhaps a little too late from the Mustang. He runs wide. The Daytona goes for a little bit of cars physics, quite literally at that point. The red Daytona's passed, massive slide from the red Daytona as the Mustang's going hugely sideways around the final turn as well. The Dynaco car losing out a little bit in all of that. Got to be wary. Another car right behind him. The Fast and Furious Evo is back within this group. The Mercury's trying to get alongside. This is a tough corner in the wets to go around the outside, let alone in these kind of vehicles. Nevertheless, though, Mercury does an incredible job of getting the car alongside and past. That is a hell of an overtake. There was very little space on the outside there, and you put a wheel on the grass at that section in these conditions, you will go round. The poor Daytona hemorrhaging positions at this stage. The Fast and Furious car getting alongside, but gets a big slide out of the turn. Wouldn't be able to do anything. Things finally stabilising for the poor Dodge. Yeah, rather crazy lap, that one, certainly. Someone had been brave and gone for, well, kind of, my RX-8. It was proving to be a real handful in the wet, though. Just gets things a tiny bit wrong. And, yeah, it was rather punishing by the looks of it. Not the easiest cars in these conditions, as the muscle cars would come flying past. The Daytona managing to out-drag the Mercury. Ferrari Testarossa was trying to hold on to its position against the Pontiac Firebird Honda S2000 within this group as well. The Honda goes for a big dive up the inside, gets two places in one go, just can't quite get the car stopped. He is on the inside line for the next turn. Testarossa's stuck out very, very wide. Firebird is now trying to make the most of all of it, but is across the puddles and on a really bit of a wonky line. Firebird ends up in trouble. Testarossa will take that position back, and we're chasing after the Honda. The Honda struggling for straight line speed around this circuit, but could carry very, very good corner speed through these opening sections. The puddle, though, catching the Ferrari out, is right on the edge. You see what I mean about the grass down there. You dip a wheel on that grass, you are going to be in a world of trouble. And while the Ferrari does manage to get it stopped without spinning, would not quite be able to get it stopped for the next corner. That would dump him down a position as the Firebird would get past, and they would all be fighting up ahead. Yeah, this was proving to be a rather crazy race. Again, this is with A-class cars. These vehicles are often a little bit more difficult to drive, often don't have some of the best racing with these sort of vehicles, but it was proving to be really rather exciting. Fast and Furious Evo, while lacking a little bit of straight line speed, was doing relatively well. However, it wouldn't be Failrace without a proper roll, and of all the vehicles, the Evo would be the one to have big issues with the Silverstone curbs. I know these curbs can be quite dangerous. I wouldn't have expected the Evo, though, to be the vehicle to go over. Yeah, that's a pretty spectacular roll from the Fast and Furious car. And, well, yeah, that would put him out of the race. This group was still going at it. I mean, you saw it as the Evo rolled. These lot were all close together. The Daytona still looking for a way past the Mustang, finally getting to the inside and making a pass stick. Now the Ford having to worry about the S2000, and the Firebird behind goes for a little bit of a late break and gets stuck out on the puddles. It's so easy to get stuck on the puddles on the outside of that corner. Many a car has been off. He does well, actually, to get it all back under control. The Firebird really struggling with grip around that final turn. The Mustang sliding through there once more. As there's in these cars, there's not a huge amount of grip around that last turn. Lots of very, very sideways vehicles. And yeah, this group would continue to be swapping positions. Another huge slide from the Shelby there. up the front, and there was once more a three-way battle for the lead, with the cars all being close on track. I was setting very similar lap times, unfortunately, getting to fourth. I was just too far back to do anything about the leaders as we came around on the final time. Ford GT leading the way from the Camaro. Aston Martin just a little bit further back. The Ford very, very slow into this last chicane, allows the Camaro to catch up massively and incredibly slow off of the next corner. The Camaro spots the opportunity, gets to the inside, is fighting the car across the puddles. The GT is not quite got the grip either as they run towards the line. The Chevy would take victory from the Ford. The Aston Martin coming home in third, with my Bumblebee Camaro down in fourth. Once more, another very exciting race. The final race, we would head to the Catalunya GP circuit. The Mitsubishi Eclipse caused some mayhem off the line. Of course, the front-wheel drive car is really struggling to launch in this field. It would plummet down the order. Again, Camaro getting a relatively good start, 3 wide on the way into the first turn is less than ideal. I have to back off a little bit. I get a tiniest of tags that upsets the Camaro no end. Huge slide from the Chevy. Managed to keep it all together though, and I would keep the position against the Z8 Aston Martin DB5 running a little bit wide. I was trying to be brave and put down as much power as I could. I too was finding myself running towards the outside. Get a better exit though than the Aston. That put me up the inside into the next corner. I'd be happy to take that position. Lotus Esprit had made a good start as well, coming up through the order. I was now behind yet another muscle car. Again, happy to dive to the inside. The Camaro was working really rather well. I very much like this as an A-class car. I'll get alongside and manage to outdrag the Hemi Cuda. The Esprit was happy to get up the inside of the Aston Martin as well towards next. One of the faster, one of the tougher turns on this circuit. I run almost. It's so easy to put a wheel on the sand and get in a lot of trouble. I get away with it though. Up ahead of me, the Z8 goes for a move up the inside of the Porsche. Can't quite make it stick though. Porsche would cut back to the inside. A fantastic move from the 911 there to try and get that position back as we run down towards the hairpin for the first time. The BMW goes for a big lunge. He's too deep under brakes, would end up out wide. The Porsche would regain the lead. A little bit of bumping going on further back. I'm now right on the tail of this group, having a look, see if I can get up the inside of the BMW anywhere. No room at that stage. Then we come towards these final corners. Very tough to overtake through here. Incredibly narrow section. The Lotus is incredibly sideways further back. A little bit of a train effect through these corners. Everything goes wrong for the Camaro as I bounce it across the curves. Again, massive slides from the Bumblebee car here on the opening lap. Further back, Honda NSX, relatively solid choice for A-Class. Can't really go wrong with the NSXs. This one had started further down the order, was trying to make his way up through the field. Spotted an opportunity car ahead, had been a bit sideways out of the corner. We get to the inside. On this particular layout of Catalonia, that's actually a tough corner to get overtakes done. The national layout, not quite so much, but here, yeah, a little bit of an awkward braking zone. Subaru Impreza would have some issues as well, trying to get the car stopped there. The NSX was carrying mega speed over the top of the hill, both him and the muscle car absolutely pushing their cars to the limit, so close to ending up in the gravel trap. The Porsche struggling a little bit for straight line speed, goes defensive into the hairpin. Not going to bother the NSX. He tries the outside, does get a good run off the turn, but can't quite make it stick at this stage. Behind, an F50 is having a look for a way past the muscle car, but he too couldn't quite get a move to stick. Now towards the very narrow section to end the lap. The Ferrari having a look, but the Mercury is going to go defensive. The NSX will throw his car across the curb. The Porsche struggling for grip would end up out in the sand. The NSX getting the move done up the inside, and the Mercury actually get a very good run off of the final corner, would cause some issues for the Porsche. Like I said, the A-Class cars were proving an awful lot of fun in this one. The F50 was a mega fast straight line car, would be fighting with them as well. Up the front, and well, this time around we decided to go one bet, a four-way battle for the lead. Unlike the previous two races where there'd been little bits of gap between the car, this one there was no gap between the vehicles as we were fighting for every position, and this was actually helping the Porsche. The Porsche was struggling a little bit for corner grip relative to the vehicles around it. It was a very quick accelerating car though, but he was able to do a great job of defending here, and he was helped by the fact that we were all fighting each other for positions as we run across the top of the hill there. The Porsche can just get a little bit of a gap to the BMW. The BMW's constantly got to be worried about the Esprit while the Z8 goes for it. He can't quite get it stopped in time. Has to take slight avoiding action on the Porsche. That makes him slow. That slows down the Lotus that's behind him. I'd just fallen back sort of 50 feet from this group, but that one little mistake would concertina everyone back up. That would bring me right back into contention. Still, the Z8 was looking for a way past on the inside, but the Lotus spots his opportunity to have a go. At the outside, Lotus can't quite make it work as we all follow one another through the final chicane there. Once more, Herbie was in attendance. Up ahead, a TVR Sagaris and Dodge Viper were having a battle. The Sagaris goes for the inside, can't quite make it stick. They both slow each other down through the chicanes, ending up out wide. The Beetle will be more than happy to take both of the positions away there. That is one of the difficulties with that final chicane. If you do go for a dive up the inside, very tough to get them to work. And if there is a little bit of contact, when everyone's running this close together, someone further back is going to profit. The Beetle, good acceleration, but would struggle with top speed against the likes of a Viper. The Saga is absolutely phenomenal under braking into turn 1. Volkswagen holding it around the outside of the first corner. Viper ending up stuck out wide, would lose a place to the TVR as we now run through the very, very long turn 3. The Saga is right on the bumper of the Beetle, carrying huge speed through that corner as the TVR goes for the inside at the next turn. We saw how good the brakes on that Sagaris were down into turn 1. The Beetle has got some good acceleration out of the corners, helped by being so incredibly light. He can hold it around the outside just about. Will try for the inside at the next turn. The Sagaris, though, very, very good quarter speed. Beetle, though, managing to get the position back briefly, running incredibly close down towards the next turn. The Sagaris, in the end, just a wheel on the curb would spit the guy. So many cars ended up in trouble out on that section. Sagaris would drop back but save it. Unfortunately, the poor Beetle, a slight laggy nudge would send him off onto the grass, despite having done such a fantastic job. The Porsche was still somehow holding on to the lead as the us cars in second, third and fourth swapped places regularly. It was the Esprit's turn to have a go up the inside of the Porsche. The Esprit, though, bouncing his way across the curb. That would cause issues, dumping the Lotus to the back of the group. The BMW spotted an opportunity to get up the inside, but both the two leaders there taking too tight or taking tighter lines, they were slowing each other down. My Camaro gets an absolutely mega run through the final corner. That puts me up alongside the BMW. The Porsche using its straight line speed to just run away from us down this main straight, getting that safety margin as they come into turn 1. 911 going defensive. BMW tries to outbrake the Chevy, ends up outbraking himself a little bit down that section. That would put my Camaro up into second place, and as we headed on to the final lap, now it was my turn to try and attack the 911 and find a way past. It was just proving too difficult for us. The Porsche was doing an incredible job of holding on to this lead. I was a little too far back through that turn, up towards the top of the hill. Perhaps one of the better chances I would have get a good run off of this corner in towards the hairpin is where overtakes were kind of most likely to happen on this final lap. The Porsche has such good acceleration that the Camaro was too far back. 911 outbrakes himself. I outbrake myself trying to keep with the Porsche. The BMW gets the Lotus, ends up in trouble out wide. The BMW gets the best run through there of the lot of us, but he was so far back, having made a mistake at turn 1. Still, the 911's defense is absolutely bumper to bumper as we head towards these final quarters. I'm around the outside of the Porsche. We saw what happened to the Esprit last time. That's exactly the same thing for me. It just run out of space. I end up across the curb and slightly tag the tyre bundle. Would get the Camaro going once more, though. The Porsche, though, too far ahead for the BMW to do anything about it around the final turn. Fantastic driving from the 911 to fend us off for most of the race. BMW claiming second. Another podium for my Bumblebee Camaro. It was one hell of a race at Catalunya. Having an entire race-long four-way battle for the lead was really, really rather good fun. We threw everything at the 911. It just couldn't make a pass stick. The Porsche's straight line speed was just great enough that it could stay out of trouble in some of the bigger braking zones and then could defend very, very well through some of the slower sections where the other cars were quicker. Yeah, that was a hell of a spectacular race. I've got to say, this was great fun. These cars, often A-Class can be a little bit spread out, not quite as exciting as some of the lower class stuff that we have run, but yeah, this was a really rather spectacular. Certainly for me, I had a lot of fun in these races. Yeah, these were good fun vehicles to go racing with. However, that is it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one shall be held on Thursday, the 30th of June. We are going to go racing with C-Class budget cars. That means your base vehicle must cost less than 30,000 credits. Now, what you spend to upgrade it is not going to be measured, but the basic car must be less than 30,000 credits. If you would like to sign up and take part in that, then you can via our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the Failrace versus the community section, and you can sign up in there. But that'll be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.